Welcome to the episode number 53 of the podcast From Stress to Success Blueprint with your host Lolita. And today I want to talk about how can you stress out about something that has to do with breaking your boundaries. When other people break your boundaries, can be not just a little annoyance, you know, but it could be super, super stressful, especially if they remind you of someone else who already broke that boundary. Or they also could be putting you in a very stressful situation. For example, they are your boss and you are afraid even to tell them that they're breaking your boundaries because you're afraid to be fired. You might not have enough courage to open your mouth and say, "Oh, I'm sorry, but touching me is not a good idea." So, for example, I had a client who her boss was a man and she is a woman, and he would like just kind of put his arm on her back. And there were a few times that he actually put his arm not only on her back, but a bit lower than the back. And she came from an environment that she learned never complain. So even though he was making her feeling very uncomfortable, and she had no problem implementing this kind of rule of do not touch me with other people, but because I was her boss, she was afraid that he will fire her. And that would make her very uncomfortable, and she was stressing out in work. The good news that the boss would not be there every single day, so then her day will be less stressful because she knows she will not be touched. But the problem was that he was a very touchy-feely kind of person, and he will touch her a lot. Until the point I told her, like, well, you need to really tell him that you don't like to be touched, and he should listen to you. And what happened? She told him that. And it took her a lot of courage. And she said, "Do not touch me anymore." And he laughed at it because there's so many times that we have those boundaries, but other people think that those boundaries are laughable and like, oh, come on, nothing will happen. I touched all other people and they fine with that. And you should get used to that. Or, oh, you'll be fine. I'll train you in. So the funny thing was that she had a black belt from martial arts and she could twist very easily his arm. Um, so when I encourage her that she needs to really remind him that she doesn't like it, and she told him, "Do not touch me again if you will touch me. And I already asked you not to. I will hurt you." Obviously, he was not believing her because how is she? And she was, very tiny, short, skinny lady. And he was this big guy. Like, how are you going to hurt me? There's no way. And she said, "I will defend myself because I already told you and I warned you. Do not cross my boundary." So, as you know, of course, he did it. And it took her, like 5 seconds just to grab that hand from her back and twist it. And that hurt him. From that moment on, he was not even coming into her office. He will go around her to make sure that he doesn't have to even to look at her. And that's, I guess, how he learned that you need to respect other people's boundaries. But also, she learned that it's time for her to stand up for herself. Because it could be, and now you're listening in and you're thinking, well, it's easy for you to say. I mean, there's maybe something happening in your life that you don't like what's happening. And I am so sorry to hear that. But you have to have enough courage to understand that you need to give this to yourself. You have to honor your own needs. You have to stand by yourself. Do not abandon yourself. And I get it. If you grew up in an environment where you've been always told that you have to put up with everybody else, you have to, satisfy them, and your needs don't matter, you will have difficulty of telling other people that, look, you crossed my boundary. And that could be very, very stressful. So learn how to implement the right way the boundaries, how to make them clear, and how to communicate them, and make sure and enforce those boundaries. And I'm very interested, if you are listening in right now, or watching this on YouTube, please leave me a comment below and tell me, was there a situation then you had to enforce your boundaries? And tell me, what was your stress level before those boundaries, when you said, listen, this is what I don't like, and how your stress was after you implemented those boundaries. Because I think it also depends on what kind of situation you are in and what kind of person you're dealing with. And if you had that in the past, that you got hurt because you um open your mouth, you could be afraid to open your mouth again and say those are my boundaries. So I'm very interested to hearing your comments. And if you have a question that you want me to answer on the podcast, please leave me a comment below. And I'll talk to you on the next episode.